I was around a lot of good stuff, man. It just the work itself, right? That particular mission and mission profile to get folks to do what they have to do, right? Get the clandestine teams to do what they do. Yeah, it was an interesting animal from a traditional diplomatic security standpoint to, do more with less, right? Now do all that with two people. So I don't think that uniqueness ever caught on, like that concept. Like this is the concept. Yes, this is how we train, but it's not like you roll with a lead car, a limo, a follow car, a cat car, and you have supporting overwatch from a helicopter and everything, and an army unit standing by for QRF. Sometimes your team back at your base was your QRF.
Yeah.
Unless you had other people there, the Army or Marines that were there that could do that kind of stuff. But then it becomes, element in contact or their element first. Army first if it was Army cats. If we're not doing anything for our folks, then we'll come to you, right? And that's just how it is. I mean, that's just policy. That's how everybody works. And we do the same thing. When they're asking us to do the same thing, QRF for them, so sure, if we don't have anything going on, yeah, we'll come help you out. And that's just the way of it for years.
What were your, let's talk, what did you think of I don't know if we can say the acronyms. Can we say the training acronyms? The training pipeline? What did you think of the training pipeline to get in? What was your initial assessment?
Yeah. So we had that discussion the other night. It was, if you're starting with some like a SEAL, Green Beret, a Ranger, that particular thing that we were doing back then had nothing to do with how we were operating in the field.
Yeah.
And as much as they hated to hear that, it wasn't just me, but I'm sure others are saying the same thing. And since I hadn't made a deployment yet, I was like, there's no way you're doing this in the field. Because it just doesn't make sense to me. And they kept telling me, they're trying to reassure me that this is how our people are doing it in the field, so you have to learn this so you'll be on the same sheet of music when you get there. I was like, all right, well, I'll do it. And so I went through the whole process, made it on board, went to the field for the first time. I was like, I knew it wasn't happening in the field because it's stupid.
Yeah.
And so from the experienced contractor folks who have some sort of experience, they've been through a basic training or a boot camp, right? They've been tested in MARSOC, BUDS, SFAS or RIP, ROPE, all these other things. They've gone through several layers of assessment and selection, and they've been in, the further and further we get into the wars, they've already been in the war zones, they've been in the combat zones, they've been on targets, and they've been in that environment already. They know it, and they're good at it. And so you can start with those folks at a certain point further down the road, right? You don't have to send them through another basic training, boot camp thing. You can do that, but that wasn't how the mindset was. It's like you got to train to the lowest common denominator, which is a staffer who sometimes didn't have any previous experience, like the contractor staff. So already it's not going to work. If you're training the lowest common denominator, a person who has no experience or very little experience, maybe they were in the military, but it wasn't a combat arms. Combat arms is either some sort of infantryman, a SEAL, a Ranger, somebody, right, that does that kind of work. Could have been a logistician in the Army or Air Force, right? Well, that doesn't equate. But they do have a college degree, and they're and a staffer, and they made it, to that point.
I could never understand. I gotta be careful how I say this, but
Yeah.
I could never understand why I'm hoping you can help me with this, because a lot of guys have this question. Why were the staffers qualifications lower than the contractor's qualifications if they're going to be the fucking team lead. With that being said, I'm not saying that all staffers
Yeah, because I was a
didn't
staffer.
have
What
the
are you trying to say?
experience.
No, I'm just kidding.
You were one of the most respected guys in that element. But a lot of staffers, and you know this, were not respected at all. And nor should they have been, in my opinion. What was that? Why were the qualifications so high to become a contractor and so low to become a staffer?
Yeah, it was a mindset where, for those of us coming out of the special operations community, right? We know we know that style of leadership, right, and what it takes to do that. But coming from, the staff side of the house and that management, they're not used to that. So their thing is a manager is a manager. A manager can manage any team, anywhere, anytime, right? As long as they have the education, the whereabouts, the smarts, and they go through the initial training, right? We're all the same.
Okay.
It's not true, but that's the mentality. And we've talked about it, and I've heard that conversation over the last 16 years a lot.
I'll bet you have.
In any of our training too, on the staff side, there's no leadership training. So, and I was willing to do, and I did it through the organization just to kind of figure out, what's the mindset, what's the take overall on your, what do you think in leadership is, and what are you expecting out of me, right? Kind of thing. And it's mostly oriented. Most of the leadership stuff is kind of geared towards an office environment.
Okay.
So you really can't get the field type of leadership that we're used to seeing, in the special operations community, infantry units, or anything like that. So that's where that's the missing link there on the unknowing, on like the not knowing how to train too, like leadership training. Manager at a Marriott, went to school, was in the Army for a little bit doing administrative work or something like that. Well, if he did that, then he can lead a team of pipe hitters in a war zone. Yeah. It makes absolutely no sense. And it, for the most part, it didn't work. They survived it, right? So for those guys, I've been in the senior leadership positions out there, and know that guys go out there and survive their 90 days. They go in the secure area, sit at their workstation. They never go on a run. They go to the chow hall. They make friends with everybody in the operational side of the secure area, but that's it. They can't get along with the team because they don't even know how to talk to the team. They don't have the same things to talk about.
Yeah.
So it goes on and on down that rat hole of they just isolate themselves, hang out for 90 days, and then they go somewhere else the next trip, so they don't have to go to the same place and deal with that again. There are a few good ones out there, but there are those a lot that don't lead by example. That's a big one, right?
Yeah.
They don't know how to do it. One, they don't know how to do the job, and then they don't seek the extra training to do it themselves. Because I'll hear about guys, even guys who have been in the business. I did the same thing myself. It's like I'll come back from a trip, and put myself into a training course of some sort. Because I went in. Yes, I was in a war zone for 90 days, but I didn't pull the trigger once. So I'm going to go to a range in a school and learn how to shoot again.
Hey everybody, I'm Shawn Ryan. Click here to subscribe to the Shawn Ryan Show YouTube channel for the hottest and most compelling interviews that you will not see anywhere else. I've also made a playlist of all the previous SRS episodes so they're easy to find. You can find that right here.